Hi, I'm Kyle Peacock from Definity's SDK team, and I'll be presenting today on the Invoice Canister. The Invoice Canister is a new project designed to provide a simple, approachable interface for someone who wants to get started quickly accepting payments on their Internet Computer Smart Contract. Today, we have support for ICP, the Internet Computer's native token, but as we add Bitcoin and Ethereum support, these will also be provided by the Invoice Canister so that a project can receive payment in any of those tokens seamlessly through a single transaction interface. In this presentation, I'm going to be walking through the design of the Invoice Canister, as well as a quick demonstration of how a seller can have a simple front end where someone purchases a license using ICP. Let's take a look. All right, so here we have the Invoice Canister. This is going to be an attempt to solve the problem for a dapp who wants to provide some good or service in exchange for ICP in their application. We need to solve questions like, how is the buyer going to pay? And how is the seller going to verify that payment has been provided in full? Currently, it's relatively complicated to set up with the Ledger Canister. The canister itself has some very simple features such as the account ID, the ability to transfer, and check the balance of an account ID. However, it's not necessarily going to be the most intuitive to either people who are working in blockchain space already, such as the account is separate from a principal, the memo field is not necessarily the most transparent, and you can't inspect individual blocks. And for devs in general, it takes quite a bit of setup in addition to their dapp's core logic to be able to integrate with the Invoice Canister. And solutions of how do I verify that a discrete transaction has occurred are not necessarily the most simple. Additionally, that complexity scales as you add in considerations for how do I accept payment in Bitcoin? How do I accept payment in Ethereum? And so we want to provide a single, simplified interface for all of these tokens. And that's where the Invoice Canister comes in. We're going to provide a simple payment protocol with concepts like create invoice, verify invoice, transfer, and we're going to abstract the challenges of integrating with ICP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin into a single API, such that the user can integrate once and then simply specify which token they would like to accept payment in for a particular transaction, and then they're good to go. So what would this look like in practice? This is an expected workflow for a client and canister communicating to each other in order to make a simple transaction. If you start with a website, the client will say, I would like to purchase something. The dapp will kick off the payment flow by speaking to the Invoice Canister, getting back an invoice, which will contain an invoice ID as well as a destination address. The dapp can then communicate this to the front end. The user can make a payment either by going to their preferred wallet, or if they have some existing balance in the application, that can be abstracted from even the UI. Once the payment is complete, the client will inform the dapp that payment has gone through, triggering the verification, and then the Invoice Canister, if the balance has been satisfied, the balance is stored in a unique sub-account for ICP, and we can simply check the balance of that sub-account, move that over into a single holding balance for the canister in general, and then close off the invoice, mark it as paid, and inform the user that their payment has been successful. That's a bit hard to get a hold of in terms of a mental picture, So let's take a look at what this looks like in practice by opening up the example client. All right, here we have an example application. In this case, the app is providing some premium license. Maybe you're going to gate some exclusive content to people who've bought into your application. And we have a very unhappy face telling us that we do not currently have a license. So let's kick off the purchase flow. Like we described earlier, the seller is talking to the invoice canister and creating a license. We have what is being provided. We have a price in ICP and a destination address. Now, in this case, we're going to assume that the buyer already has a balance of ICP on this platform so that we can simply, in one interaction, fire off an update where we are making the payment to the canister. Additionally, once the payment has been completed, the front end told the client that it was done, triggered the verify invoice call. That spoke to the ledger and verified that the balance had been updated, and finally communicated back to the client that everything was good to go. So now we are licensed. We've made a transaction of 10 ICP, and it's really that simple. And just like that, you have a simple example of the kinds of applications that developers are going to be able to build using the Invoice Canister. This is a simple, familiar API bringing Web 2 style convenience and an interface to Web 3 technology. I can't wait to see what you all build using the Invoice Canister.